All right. Welcome, everyone. We have a new potential member who has joined us for today. So I think it might be nice to just go around briefly, introduce ourselves so we can talk about our name, our gender pronouns, and where we situate ourselves in the community. So that could be where you live, what you do for work, what you do for volunteering, whatever you'd like to share about yourself that you find relevant to coming to this meeting today. So I'll start. I'm Leah Huckala. I live right on Westwood down the street. I use she or they pronouns, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Maine. My work relates directly to diversity, equity, and inclusion. But also personally, I'm a social justice advocate. Since I can remember, I've been engaged in equity work, and I'm very passionate about it, and I care about the community. So that's why I am here.
Cool. My name is Sonia Berthasell. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the town council liaison to this group. So I'm a member of the town council and also get to serve here and report back on what we discuss to council and vice versa. And am really honored and delighted to be that liaison because I too care a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging work. In my day job, I serve as director of the Wilson Center, which is a place for multi-faith dialogue. And so, and serves a pretty diverse group of students and members of the wider community in a lot of different dimensions.
Is food allowed in the council chamber?
Yes, bring it on in.
Sorry.
Good to see you.
Dinner.
Welcome.
Awesome.
Okay.
We were just doing some introductions because we do have a potential new member who's joining us on Zoom. So this is Chuck, who has applied to be on the committee. Yeah.
And Musquin is going to apply to be on the committee.
Oh, awesome.
I'm curious why there wasn't any
This.
children's representation.
Great. Are you?
I think I'm done. Yep, that was my
Would
introduction.
you like to go?
Sure.
Name, pronouns, how you situate yourself here in Orono.
Okay, I am Gabriel Frey, he, him. I'm Passamaquoddy basket maker, artist, massage therapist, interested in expanding connection in the community.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ms. Kwan, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Musquin, she, her, and I live with my parents, and I go to the school right over there. Here, wait, I think it's over there. Her and I also I think that's it.
Chuck, would you like to go on Zoom? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. My name is Chuck. I use he, him pronouns, and I live on Old Kelly Avenue. My daughter just graduated from Orono High School last spring, and I'm sort of looking for some new ways to make the world a better place and give back to the community. So thought this would be a good way to challenge myself and learn a few things and meet some people. If I'm approved, I'm looking forward to it. Sorry, I couldn't be there in person this evening, but normally on Tuesday nights, I would be able to. So, thanks.
Thank you and welcome. Danielle?
Hello there, everyone. I'm Danielle Gabrielli, and I am currently a doctoral student at the University of Maine. I am a professor in training, and I am here because I want to see more people of color represented in our community, and really just bringing about my love of diversity, equity, and inclusion to this group. So I'm grateful to be here tonight, and I am a member of the council committee. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Would both of you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I don't know if they can see me, but I'm Lori Carpenter. I'm the library director. She, her. And I'm also the on the staff DEI committee, bringing training and education to town staff.
Thank you and welcome.
I'm Jeff Wingard. I'm on the town council with Sonia, he, him. And I've just been an advocate for DEIB work in Orono for several years. I am on the DEIB committee in Bangor where I'm employed. So just sitting in the audience, learning.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you all. I am the facilitator for today. We do have a shared leadership model. So it's my turn today. Thank you all for doing the welcome. The first piece of, or the first item on our agenda is kind of a follow-up related to last month's discussion about the formal apology and the signage recommendations. So I think maybe Sonia, you could provide an update on what happened. The committee had decided we wanted to recommend the long formal apology and we wanted to move forward with our recommendations, but wanted to spend some time revising them a bit.
Yes, I think that that is an accurate summary as I recall it, and I actually was not tracking that closely, and I'm not sure if I have many updates beyond that. Jeff, do you have any updates
Yeah.
beyond that?
I think we're, town council is, our process is we have to take it up in committee before it comes to the council. So I think it is on our committee list of items to take up. And I know that Councilor Sarah Marks has really been spearheading this. We have, and she has sent some communication to our partners whom we've worked with before in the Penobscot Nation. So I don't want to get out ahead of her communication, but I know that it is, the process is going on our committee work list, and we are, as a separate issue, waiting for the DEIB committee to bring us their extended list of recommendations. So sort of two parallel tracks going.
Is there recommendations at this point? In addition to the apology?
Yeah, it's sort of two, so at last meeting, we talked about making those two separate things.
Okay.
So there's a written apology for the sort of unintended harms caused by and process by which the signage was changed, and Chief Orono's image was de-emphasized in that change. And that apology letter was reviewed by this group, and there were two versions, and this group recommended that like a longer form letter be the version that felt more appropriate for town council to send. And then that letter was also shared with several of the Penobscot Nation members who had been part of the town's process and had consented into giving the town council some advice about how to repair those relationships. And so there was a little bit more constructive feedback that was sort of brought into the process through that, but fairly minor changes as compared to the version that the DEIB committee reviewed. And so I think there's a like pretty well reviewed and vetted apology letter that it sounds like is in the process of like town council's going to look at that and decide we should move ahead with it. Is where we are at with that. Thank you for jogging my memory about where we were, because I actually did know some additional things.
But I would say that there are probably three tracks.
Yes.
So at the last community potluck, most of them thought it would be a good idea to have a Wabanaki themed dinner for January. Sarah Marks reached out to me to basically see if there was funding needed for that. Yeah. I reached out to a Penobscot performer, and then Sarah secured funding for that. So there'll be a Penobscot performer. There's also excess funds, so I'm going to see if I can also get a Penobscot elder to come and tell some stories. So it'll be music and storytelling, and we're just what is helping to plan the sort of the event. I've also have 3 traditional Wabanaki dishes planned. So yeah.
This is very exciting.
I think the third part is the apology letter, sort of like figuring out writing relationships, the repair can be a little heavy. And I think there can also be a way of engaging with the community that isn't all just heavy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So you're seeing the January Wabanaki based potluck as a component of the apology.
No, I see it as a community engagement
Yeah.
Okay,
that isn't to do with the apology.
okay,
It's
so the
just-
apology will not be mentioned.
It could be if people wanna talk about it. If they don't, it's fine. It's
Okay.
light. It's sort of like, it's about this community interacting with that community and sort of, just sharing stories. So the whole idea around the theme is that like, one of the things that we do in our culture is like a bear feast, which is like, that's an important medicine animal. So it's like putting that bear spirit to sleep by having a large feast and sort of like celebrating storytelling, things like that. So and it's not just Wabanaki, but like if people have stories that they want to share, so it's like, it's really a cultural exchange, not
Mhm.
just we're teaching you about Wabanaki stuff, but like everybody has
Yeah.
stories, right? Everybody has, and this is the time of year traditionally that we would earmark for sharing stories.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You know how at the potluck this month, how it said, "How does loss make you feel?" Well, you could just write a title. Well, you could just write like something at the table that said, "Share a story with your family that you had once," or "Share a story with your friends that happened once."
Yeah, that's good. So like having
Love that.
different themes at each table about
Mhm.
storytelling that people can like prompts.
I love
Yes.
conversation prompts. Thank you for that idea. That's awesome.
Yes. I'm documenting all of this. I love it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So yes, 3 pillars of engagement about how we want to, have a meaningful relationship with our neighbors, the Penobscot Nation. And so the other one, the third one that we haven't talked about yet is this group's recommendations for what the town council can kind of learn from and take away as intentions for moving forward and how we want to be good neighbors. And so this was based on a document that Sarah Marks had originally drafted and shared with this group, but then we, a couple months, a month and a half ago, I guess, at a special meeting, added some to that, and we set an agenda item to try to like further revise and see if there are ways that we want to build that out yet. And
Has not been done.
that has not been done yet, but it is a thing that
Well.
we could assign ownership to make sure that it does happen by next meeting, if we wanted to have maybe a subcommittee spend some brain power on that, or come up with a system for like us each committing to look at that and send revisions to someone who could compile them all. How do we, who wants to be engaged on that, and how do we want to do it?
I think it's important for all of us
Yeah.
to review it and
Yeah.
provide feedback. Is
Sure.
it on a Google Doc?
I think that it's not, I think it's on a Word document.
I wonder if it might be helpful to just transfer it to a Google Doc, and then assuming that everyone has access
Yeah.
to Google Doc to provide feedback, and we all could see each other's feedback. And then, so that's the charge. Each one of us reviews it, and at our next meeting, we go over the comments and the reviews.
Yeah. I do think that would be the simplest solution, and my one caveat is that I've been trained through my role as as a town councilor that there's like a gray area with open meeting law where if we're all revising the same Google Doc, it could be construed as a meeting happening that's not like publicly noticed. And so that ends up, just being a sort of bureaucratic constraint. But an alternative is that I'd be okay being the point person in this regard. If everyone wanted to make your own edits and suggestions, send all of them to me. I could put together a doc that had all of those comments and then send it out to everyone. And then we can, as you say, collaboratively look at it next meeting.
Okay,
Does
that was
that-
going to be my next
Does
suggestion.
that work?
Thank you for being the
You're
point,
welcome.
volunteering to be the point person. Okay, how
Sure.
does that sound?
How does that sound to folks online? Awesome.
Some
And-
nods.
Pete, I don't know if this is easy to do or if you're still listening, but if it would be possible to make it so that we could make Chuck and Danielle's pictures bigger on this screen, I would love to be able to see them a little bit better. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, this is so much better.
Great.
It feels like what essentially happened was there was a reach out, and then in between utilizing the information that was shared, there was an election. And then different people were here. So I think there needs to be some sort of like way of maintaining direction, whoever is elected or whatever. It seems like that's the essential, where the mishap happened,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call
Yeah. But those mechanisms for continuity of entity to entity relationship do feel really important.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly because when you engage with like a tribal nation, it is they are used to nation sort of engagement that is much more like, you know, consistent.
Yeah.
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 So,
That's really important insight, and I hope you'll remember to write it down. I'm glad you said it aloud too, because then if you forget, hopefully one of the rest of us can.
So to recap, Sonia will send the document.
Yes.
Each committee member will review it and provide feedback, if you have feedback, to Sonia using some sort of track changes. Sonia will compile the feedback, add it to one document, which will be shared at our next committee meeting. And we will review it as a group and make decisions about next steps.
Correct. And then, you know, at the point in time when we feel like, yes, these are great recommendations, we can send it to the town council. And then there's a formal document that they can be like, oh, these are some recommendations.
That sounds good. Sounds great. Anything else we'd like to talk about in terms of either the formal apology or the signage recommendations? All right, the next item on our agenda is the debriefing of the Orono Community Potluck, which was on Sunday, November 5th at the Keith Anderson Community Building. So the questions that I put in the agenda, but we can talk, we already discussed the idea for the next potluck. But if we want to debrief what went well, what can we improve? And then Sonia collected the notes and prompts that were provided at the potluck. Shall we review that first?
Sure, that's fine with me. So at our potluck, that was co-sponsored by the town council and this committee, we had some conversation prompts that were on each of the tables, and I think you already were thinking about how we can use this in the future. So I brought all these sticky notes. I haven't typed them up into a thing yet, but I can read them all aloud and we can all learn from them. So the conversation prompts were, what does belonging feel like, and how can Orono help foster a greater sense of belonging for you? And some of the ideas that we got are doing a project together when you can be yourself, feeling safe and accepted. This handwriting is a little bit tricky, but I think this says town sponsored interdenominational holidays. So Samhain, Diwali, solstice, etc. More dinners like this. Belonging equals being understood and appreciated. More opportunities for community, dance, potluck, outdoor events. Buses on the weekends. Fund community potlucks. More public art. This one says good, which I think is in reference to what does belonging feel like. An app for where the buses are at. I believe they're going to a fixed stop system, so that maybe will help with where the buses are at, but it's interesting to note that there are multiple bus ones in here.
Yeah.
Make it fun, dance, music, food. Orono can promote diverse events. These may naturally allow a sense of belonging that will later grow. Belonging is being among people who you like and who like you, and also in a place that you like. Meeting more people that I wouldn't meet otherwise. Belonging is when a person feels that they can be themselves. Belonging is a feeling of safety and unity within where you live, work, and hang out. It feels good. We can foster a sense of belonging through community dinners and events and contra dances. Events like these are great, thank you. Contra dance at Keith Anderson, all right, contra dancing is popular. And a museum to showcase the Historical Society. That is our pile of sticky notes.
Well, it sounds like we're already doing some great events to foster a sense of belonging.
That's true.
I typed up what you were reading.
Well, thank you so much for doing that.
I was really surprised at the turnout. Like,
Surprised positively or negatively? Okay.
surprised positively. Like, I was not expecting that level of community engagement,
Me too.
so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Did you know what to expect?
A little bit.
How about those of you online, Danielle and Chuck? Did you have any feedback? Did you attend the community potluck? I don't recall seeing either of you.
I did not have a chance to attend the community potluck this last one, but the one before it I did go to. And I think it's actually an excellent way to engage the community and get a multitude of people to show up. But I think there's some ways in which it could be, especially surrounding that bus piece, it could be collaborated with a little bit more. But overall, I think it's an excellent opportunity to connect with the community. And it was really fun when I went. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did not attend that, but it does sound like transportation is a concern for people and maybe even a concern for those who'd like to attend an event like that, but lack the transportation to do so.
One other piece of feedback that I heard that's kind of piggybacking off the transportation point. So the bus doesn't run on Sunday, the potlucks are on Sunday, and there is a community volunteer who stepped forward to coordinate rides. But sort of the transportation thing is a good thing to flag, as is a community member who's sometimes food insecure shared with me that having a potluck sort of feels a little bit complicated and burdensome if you don't necessarily have a lot of food for yourself, then being able to share is a real challenge. And so I was really grateful that this person was willing to share that with me, because I think that's important feedback to think about as well. Yeah. And we've, I think, tried in the messaging to say, if you don't have the bandwidth to bring a dish, still come, but I know that doesn't, that's not going to work for everyone, so.
Can I say, I missed the first one and I heard a ton of great feedback, so I was really grateful I could make the second one. It exceeded my expectations, like twice the number of people. Great conversation with people I had never met before, people really willing to pull up a chair at their table. And after being sequestered for so long, over the past couple of years, it was really a great way to enter the community for me. So I had nothing to do with the planning whatsoever. I'm just giving accolades to the people who did plan it. It was really good.
I thought both, I went to both community potlucks and I thought the second one was even better than the first. Maybe they'll just continue to get better as we develop them. I liked the structure of the musical component of the second one better than the first. And I shared this in a previous meeting, but the first one, the music, it was beautiful, but it was just so loud. It was difficult to have conversations with people at the table. And just having it as a little mini concert was so special, I think, for everyone. And then having a bit of dancing and having the kids section, I thought that the way we structured it was really great. There were many aspects that I think we should continue to repeat. You know, if it's working well, let's keep, maybe every potluck, we could feature some kind of musical component that is related culturally in some way to something in Orono. Yeah, so that was my thoughts, feedback.
Somebody floated the idea of having a children's harmonica chorus.
Okay.
I love that idea so much.
So it was like, I'm buying harmonicas for all the kids.
Harmonicas.
Yeah.
It will be a beautiful chorus.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm bummed that Carlos isn't able to make it today, but I was talking with him after the potluck, because I gave him a ride back to campus afterward, and I knew he was like kind of nervous going into it, but I ended up feeling really good about it and was kind of like, yeah, let's do it again next year. And so that felt I was really happy that he and his friends from the university had a good experience.
I love this idea of doing it
Yeah.
every year in October. I mean, that means someone has to commit. But yeah, I think that's great. I'm glad that you enjoyed
Yeah.
the experience. So we talked a bit about what went well and what perhaps could be improved in terms of the improvements, transportation, food insecurity. So the messaging piece, it sounds like we've tried to address both of these pieces, but they might still be issues. Are there other creative strategies that we could incorporate for the next potluck? I'm curious why perhaps people did not want to take part in the community volunteer to drive them to the potluck. Did anyone engage in that?
I don't know. I guess that would be a question for.
Yeah. I'm wondering if either people are uncomfortable with doing that, or they just didn't really understand
Maybe
it.
they might not have heard about it yet
Yeah.
either.
Yeah,
But also this question wasn't like what would make this potluck more accessible. These comments about belonging were about Orono and public transit in Orono generally. So it could be that it was detached from access to the potluck. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's very true.
That's true, because they were there to make the comments.
they were there to make the comments, so they must have found a
They
route.
did it.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. Okay, so maybe that's not even a problem for the potluck. It could just be
yeah.
a line item for
Like, a thing to
your
note that,
agenda. Yeah, something we're thinking about.
yeah. I had a nice conversation recently with some international students in my experience sort of disproportionately have feedback about our public transit in this part of the world. They like show up here and are like, what do you mean the bus stops at 6 and doesn't run on Sunday? And one of them had this idea that for World Transit Day, which we looked it up, it's in March, like what if we gave free cookies to everyone who rides the bus and just tried to make it like a huge thing? Because for the transit system, ridership and making that kind of financially workable is part of the challenge. And for a lot of people who I think grew up here and could take the bus but usually drive, there's a barrier of just never having done it before that makes it seem like, a black box. And what if we did make riding the bus really fun and an opportunity to get cookies and bring your kids? What do you think?
I think I can bake some of the cookies.
Oh, yeah.
I'm also thinking of learning this macaroon recipe.
I love macaroons. This is good to know that you're a baker. This is a very helpful skill set.
What was the day called? International Transit.
It's something like that. International Transit Day.
I put that in the notes.
Put it in the notes.
Something like that. I like that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Could be a fun opportunity to work with some of our international students on a project to
Mhm.
bring some more folks in.
Any other ideas in terms of addressing the food insecurity issue? So for individuals who maybe feel compelled to bring something but don't have the resources for it. Yeah.
Would it be, may be helpful for some people to have a sign of us, can't bring a dish, help us in the kitchen, can't, you know, that gives people an
Yeah.
opportunity to give back,
Hmm,
even if they don't feel hungry.
Yeah,
I love that.
really nice idea. Yeah,
I think they're just the term potluck
Mhm.
is sort of like you bring.
Yeah.
I think having some other way of helping out
yeah.
is probably really helpful.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, it's sort of, once it gets established, I wonder if even changing the name to community dinner so that people don't see potluck and assume they can't come, but rather
Yeah,
see that it's a thing and then can read down and see that there are multiple ways to be engaged.
Yeah.
Might feel less
Change-
off-putting to
yeah.
people for whom that's
I
a,
think so, because there is this sort of like potluck means potluck, but
Yeah.
community dinner. It's community dinner,
yep,
and you can have in there, bring a dish,
Mhm.
bring your hands, bring whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you have musical talent to
Yeah,
feature.
Bring
yeah.
your talents.
Your harmonica.
Monica.
Bring your pets.
Maybe not.
Ooh.
So, I love that idea, but I don't know if everyone does.
Mhm.
Great. Okay. Good ideas. So we talked, and Chuck or Danielle, do you have any thoughts on anything so far?
No, nothing that hasn't already been mentioned.
I was just thinking about possibly if it was a possibility to have some canned foods there. I don't know if that would be something that would be available, sort of like a small piece that's there. I know that there's a lot of places that do give, especially Hannaford, and it's just kind of a thought if somebody is food insecure, maybe they can take a little something home with them, but I don't know how that would work. It's just a thought that I had. Not sure exactly how that would pan out.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea, Danielle. I wonder if it could be in partnership, like kind of there could be a certain amount of food drive and redistribution happening with them, just as a matter of course. And then if there's extra stuff, have a volunteer take it to the Black Bear Exchange or another
Yes.
area. But we kind of do this with our Thursday dinners at the Wilson Center where we try to cook extra so that if there are kids who need to take extra food home, they can do that. And it's just like, here you go, you know, kind of no questions asked, like if you need food, please take, and we, you know, try to make redistribution a really low key part of how the thing organically operates, and kids, I think there's possibility to do that with these potlucks or these community dinners as well.
Great ideas.
Yeah.
So the next item on the agenda is still related to potlucks, but I just had kind of a general, just ideas for future potlucks. Is this something that is in our purview, or did we just do the one and now we're doing one in January, and then who's running the potluck? I guess.
Yeah, it's sort
Planned for February?
I think that there is a date scheduled for February, but not necessarily a partner topic thing yet.
I'm
But
sorry,
I think they're kind of evolving a little bit organically.
I misspoke, I meant December.
Oh, December, yes, there is. I don't know if there is a kind of like partner organization for that one yet, the way that we were the partner organization for this last one. But I do know there are musicians identified, and the harmonica thing was related to Art and Harvey, who play the harmonica, and like building some children's activities around that. And I think the town council had talked about in one of our conversations about this, trying to first invite and use the opportunity of these potlucks or community dinners to connect with our standing committees who are kind of already part of the town and be starting there. And so we had the Historical Society and us folks, and I think would be looking for opportunities to connect with the tree board and the planning board and other groups that are, you know, send invitations to other groups that are really affiliated with the town. Start with, but then not exclusively, and also looking for opportunities to build beyond that. And yeah, I don't think we have a real process for exactly how this is getting scheduled yet. It's probably mostly in Sarah Marks's head.
I think our charge was intentionally loose, so we
Yeah.
could, you know, people could come in with a great idea and,
Got it.
you know.
And we could say, sure, we've got time a couple months from now. Let's get it on the agenda. Yeah.
Yeah.
With sort of Wisconsin's idea being a great example. It's
Yeah.
like, that sounds very cool. Turns out we don't have a thing for February yet, or January. Yeah.
I see Danielle, you have your hand up?
Yes, actually, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is it would really actually be quite nice to have a literacy night for one of the opportunities of meeting. I think it would be wonderful to organize and to do something really fun with that in the community. There's some idea that I wanted to throw out there, take it or leave it.
Okay, I missed, what is the event that you mentioned? I didn't hear it.
I think she said diversity.
Diversity night.
Diversity night.
Literacy night.
That's separate from a community potluck or part of the community potluck?
I think elements of it could be involved in the community potluck. It would be surrounding like not just focusing on the kids, but also on the parents and the kids, and like creating like a opportunity for them to engage in literacy activities. And I don't know, just an idea that I've had. It's been really fun. I'm getting my doctorate and PhD in literacy education, so I've really enjoyed finding the ways that families can engage, particularly families from the community. And so it was just something I was just kind of throwing out there to say it would be nice to see that in time.
Yeah,
Great.
we could partner with the library.
Library? Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I love that idea. Yeah. Cool.
So literacy, not diversity.
Ah, good.
Okay.
A good clarification.
I mean, either one would be great, but I just wanted to make sure I was recording right. Okay. All right. Your notes. Anything else related to potlucks?
I think developing some pipeline is probably a good idea. But I also like the idea of keeping it loose, but maybe being a little bit more intentional about
Maybe about the process.
Yeah.
So if someone had a good idea, contact, what are the next steps? How many people do they need to identify to volunteer to help with the setup and everything? Great. Right, so next item on the agenda, I'm not entirely sure how we're going to lead this discussion. We might need to postpone it to the next meeting, but it's leads on listening sessions. And I believe Malcolm was in charge of that item. Malcolm is not here today. So is there agreement that we will push this to next month's agenda?
That seems fine to me. Yeah.
So move to December.
Well, it seems like we can, like with these prompts, because I feel like listening sessions can be kind of tedious, but having some sort of like community social engagement where we're engaging with the people that we want to hear from, and then having just sort of like things that people can comment on if they want to, or, you know, things like that. So I think building in or utilizing the opportunity of these dinners as a way of also connecting with the community in sort of, you know, candid conversations. I feel like,
I love that idea.
but I also like table again for next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big matrix.
Yeah.
I wanna give it the time that it needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is last month, there was a request or a comment about potentially looking into a complaint that was made towards the town of of Orono. I think what we had decided is that we were going to just, in general, as a committee, look into the Maine Human Rights Commission. But we didn't really talk about what we were going to do. We were going to find out more information about the complaint. Sonia shared a document with us recently as a committee. So, but I'm not sure if everyone had the opportunity to review the complaint. What I would like to suggest, and as a community member had called and suggested to me, is that as a committee, we think about the potential of first just educating ourselves about what this organization, Maine Human Rights Commission, what is its charge? What is its mission? What is a complaint? And make sure that we're understanding what we're talking about and the language that we're using. I think last month, maybe there was a difference between this idea of a complaint, and I don't remember the other word, but I think we need to be clear as a committee in terms of what we're talking about before moving forward. So what I would like to suggest is that part of our homework for between now and our next meeting is just looking up online, the Maine Human Rights Commission, what is its charge? How is it related to our work and our charge as a committee? And then potentially invite a speaker from Maine Human Rights Commission to talk with us either via Zoom during one of our meetings about the work that they do.
So I think I missed that meeting.
Yeah, last month.
Yeah, can you just like,
I'll try to give a brief synopsis. There was a settlement, the Maine Human Rights Commission settlement this year between a former employee and the town of Orono. And so the document that Leah referenced that I shared with you via email, which is the only public document related to this case that the town of Orono has, is now in your possession, but that is a public document. And my understanding is, although I haven't like gone through the hoops and accessed this, that other public documents related to a Maine Human Rights Commission case in which the town of Orono is a party are available through the Maine Human Rights Commission. And so I think that and I think we also talked about how it's it's probably beyond, and there are issues of employee confidentiality that mean that this group and also like sort of it's not necessarily within this group's charge from the town council to be like relitigating issues or discussing personnel matters like on a Zoom screen in a way that would be inappropriate and illegal. But also there was some I think sort of thoughtful pushback from some members of this committee that a Human Rights Commission case could be a real useful learning experience for the town, and so it might behoove this group to understand some of what that case was about, because if there are learnings from it, then that could be really useful feedback to be shared with the town council. And so we had said as homework, trying to figure out like, well, could there be opportunity for this group to have an executive session if
I think what I learned is that the document exists as a public document, but part of that document is a non-publicity agreement. So we certainly can provide it and read it and stuff like that, but we cannot discuss it in session.
Okay.
If we are, I think talking to a representative of Maine Human Rights is an excellent training tool.
Yeah.
If people are concerned about the laws as they apply to cases like this, without discussing the specific case, we can also invite our attorney in to talk to us about that. And that's something that, Sonia and I can facilitate. The thing that we cannot do as a body of the town is discuss in particular a settlement that has a non-publicity clause in it.
Yeah.
And so
so more or less like, without discussing the case, discussing developing best practices in regards to situations.
Yeah,
I think that's an
exactly. And I think that is probably the more I guess this is my personal opinion, but to me, that feels like the more constructive learning outcome that could be had from a situation like this, so.
And I
Yeah.
looked through the process as well, and I guess the terminology is important. A complaint is a complaint until it becomes a case. So in referencing something as a case, we don't really know that it became a case. You know what I mean? So a
Right.
complaint goes through a process that might get to be a case.
Right.
And so reading through that, I think it would be good to educate the committee as to, and what terminology to use. So continuing to reference this as a case, it may not be then a case,
Yeah.
especially since it was settled.
All right.
So
It's even
That's really
difficult to
helpful. Yeah.
even talk about.
Right.
I know.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is there might be two potential opportunities for learning and development as a committee. One could be inviting a speaker from the Maine Human Rights Commission to speak with us and help educate us on what they do and how their work is involved in our work, how it intersects. And then the other, which Jeff suggested, and I would be curious about, is invite the Orono town attorney. Is that what they're called? Or the attorney who
He's not
represents?
our attorney,
Yeah.
but he is the attorney that we retain for.
To discuss, not the case, but just kind of potentially to talk with us about legality around equity issues that might intersect with some of the work that we do in moving forward in the future. So again,
Yeah.
just tools for education. I also think that both of those could help us understand what language to use. So if we're in the community, someone approaches us, is talking about the situation, we can draw from correct terminology.
I think perhaps based on what Lori just said, the word settlement might be the most appropriate term, because my understanding is there is clearly a settlement, that's a public document
that's what
that's in our inboxes.
Yeah.
And whether that was, what terminology that, what process that went through the Human Rights Commission on, who knows, but what we know is there's a settlement.
We can, as you guys go through your agenda planning, just being communicating, Sonia and I can talk about how we bring in, our attorney to train us. Set up a time. We're at the mercy of his schedule in the evenings, sort of, right? So, but we could set up a time to do that.
How about those of you online, Chuck or Danielle? Do you have any thoughts about anything related to the Maine Human Rights Commission? What has been discussed?
No, I have no background information or no context, so therefore no opinion.
No, I think you all are taking the correct steps in this. I think I'm just in a space of support.
Great.
On the end of the meeting.
It's a 60-minute.
It's actually until 7:30, but
I think we're gonna finish early.
Yeah, probably.
We'll finish by 7.
Okay.
so in terms of these two next steps, Sonia, do you want to be in charge of the attorney? Wait, Jeff, are you in charge of the attorney? Do you want to be in charge of the attorney?
I would have to book the attorney.
Okay.
So you guys tell me what dates you would like, and
Okay.
I'll take it to him. See what we can do.
Okay.
Looking ahead, what have we got for our next meeting? We bumped the sort of listening session and or community outreach, more extended discussion till next time potentially. Is there anything else about community dinner planning that makes sense to do next time? Or do you feel like kind of you've got that on lock over in that corner?
Maybe a little bit, just in terms of
Sure.
like overall organizing. I'm gonna
Sure.
organize part of it, but
Right.
I
think
not an event planner.
Yeah, I think me and Sarah on the town council are event planners. Would be happy to help you with that.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah,
So those are the two items then, the lead on listening sessions and the Wabanaki dinner or community potluck in January.
yeah. And do you, I would imagine there's probably room for like maybe one of those two items, but not both in our next meeting if either the lawyer was available or the Human Rights Commission could. So I can reach out to the Human Rights Commission and see what kinds of training opportunities they might be able to offer us and see what their availability is, and maybe we can go from there, but.
I'm thinking that that probably won't happen at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And also I just realized that one of our tasks is reviewing the signage recommendations,
Oh.
and then we're going to discuss that. So that's another.
That's
item.
another thing that needs, all right, so
So I think we should not have one of either of the two speakers for next meeting.
all right, so
January.
bump the
Yeah.
settlement, better understanding sort of Human Rights Commission settlement process stuff to January.
That's not like the settlement's already happened.
It has already happened,
It's not,
yes.
it's not like some actionable thing.
I don't
We-
believe so. I think that, to my understanding at least, this group's interest in it was around understanding, and being able to offer learnings to the town council about how to, sort of navigate things in future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have basically an agenda for next meeting. Do we have the next meeting planned? I don't believe that we do.
Let's take a look. If we're kind of going by the regular second Tuesday at 6 p.m. schedule, I have it penciled in already for December 12th.
Okay.
Does that work for other folks?
Yeah.
And
Is that the general meeting time?
That
Meeting date is the second.
is the
Tuesday,
second Tuesday
From 6
at
to
6,
6.
yeah, from
That we can
6.
go with January 9th too as well. First, tentatively. Something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And should we choose a facilitator for that next meeting? Would anyone like the dubious honor?
The agenda's already made.
It's true. I can,
I feel like I'm the only one who hasn't done it yet.
you haven't done it yet, it's true.
Gabriel, you will be the facilitator.
Wait, would you prefer not to? If facilitating meetings is something that you're like, ugh about, I can jump in. and do it.
Facilitating meetings is not my thing.
Not your thing. Okay, don't worry about it. We all have our things. I can jump in and facilitate that. Thank you all for helping to build the agenda during this meeting.
And who should I share these notes with?
Let's share them with the whole committee, and Lori, I believe, wants to be CC'd on that as well.
Okay. There is an agenda item of public comment. Should I just ask?
Is there
Is there
any
anyone?
public comment online? All right, I was backseat facilitating there. You had just jumped in. And
No
did it.
worries. Chuck, did you have a comment?
Just want to say thank you for the work you're doing. I appreciate the chance to witness what you're working on, and hope to be back for more.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right, any additional comments before we adjourn?
I want to say one additional comment, and this is just something that we'll have to talk about later down the road. But I would like to see a Black History Night or something along those lines for something that we do in this community that, and I would love to see that in our community at some point. Thank you.
Right. It's in
Yeah.
the notes.
It's not, I mean, Black History Month is February, right? So it's not too early to start looking ahead toward that, Danielle.
Yeah, and
Maybe.
we can even do it now, or whenever it's possible. I say Black history is all year long. Any history is all year long. It should be taught throughout everything, but I just think it would be really neat to continue that theme of different cultures and different experiences and different diversities. I think it would be lovely. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Great idea. Love it. Okay. All right. Meeting adjourned.
Great meeting.
Thanks for facilitating.
You're welcome.
Very efficient.